The town of Farmington. Respecting history, planning the future.
Good evening. I'd like to welcome you to the April 3rd, 2017 Town Council meeting and ask you to please stand and join us for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we begin our meeting tonight, we have two proclamations. And the first one is for Aidan Coyle, and I'd ask you to come up to the podium, please. I'm not knocking over. Good evening. Tonight we have Aidan Coyle, and we are honoring him with a proclamation because he has achieved the rank of Eagle Scout. And this is one of the really fun opportunities that we get as a council to honor our students. And tonight are two Eagle Scouts, actually. One will be honored in a little bit. It gives me particular pleasure to be up here and to honor Aidan because my son was an Eagle Scout. And I think when you've gone through what it takes to become an Eagle Scout, it's a lot of hard work. And it's as you see, you can see all the badges. That's a lot of years of work, hours of volunteering, and a lot of hours of leadership, which culminates in the project that you do as an Eagle Scout. But also a lot of hard work and a lot of leadership and a lot of bringing people together to actually make the Eagle Scout project come together. You have to organize the materials of what you use and the people that help you do it. And there are a lot of lifelong skills that you learn during this process. One of the things, or many of the things that when I researched Aidan and found out he'd been involved with, was a leader in the scout troop itself, and really given back and been a role model in the group. And that's really important when you have young boys that are starting out and look ahead to the years ahead that it takes to become one, and they think they'll never achieve it and how hard it is. And the encouragement, I think, of young men that work with them and bring them along, as I'm sure you had when you were younger and started out, how important that is. So it's not just on your own becoming an Eagle Scout. There's so much involved with people and in this process. Aidan has been involved in many other things. He's been a leader in Relay for Life, an usher at St. Mary's Church, supported the First Church in Unionville, the Unionville Museum, and many other organizations in town. And this isn't only a significant impact for him today, but in the future. I think so many times you'll see in the future when you are out in the world and you've achieved this and people know it. They know what that means to be an Eagle Scout. And it just says so much when you walk in the door. So you'll really see that, I think, in the future. It's wonderful. And you all should be very proud. You and your family. It does take everyone to kind of work together, and as you grow and you learn of what you want to do as an Eagle Scout. But you should be very, very proud of yourself for this. It's an amazing accomplishment. The proclamation reads, whereas the Boy Scouts of America help train the youth of our community with skills which serve them well in the future, and whereas many of our youth participate in activities of the Boy Scouts of America which benefit our community, and whereas one of the crowning achievements of Boy Scouting is the attainment of the rank of Eagle Scout, and whereas Aidan Coyle from Troop 170 Boy Scouts of America recently completed the requirements for Eagle Scout, and whereas Aidan Coyle's project involved the restoration of the outdoor ticket booth at the Railroad Museum of New England in Thomaston, Connecticut, which included replacing siding on the back of the booth and repairing the roof, as well as repainting the entire booth and 2 railroad crossing signs, and whereas Aidan Coyle also worked hard rehabilitating the entrance garden to the Railroad Museum, expanding it by 12 feet, removing and replacing all railroad ties surrounding the garden, and remulched the area, And whereas Aidan Coyle has demonstrated leadership and academic success as part of the event leadership team and the logistics committee for the Farmington Valley Relay for Life, and as a recipient of Alex P. Franklin Award, 2016 Best Work Ethic and Precision Machining Award, the 2015 J.N. Webster Summer Camp Honor Camper Award, and whereas Aidan Coyle serves as the Assistant Senior Patrol and has implemented a planned program to get new scouts to the troop through Scout and Tenderfoot rank, and oversees all program for troop meetings, outings, and campouts. And whereas as a result of Aidan Coyle's work, the lives of the people of Farmington will be enriched and enhanced. Now therefore be it resolved that on behalf of the Farmington Town Council, we hereby extend Aidan Coyle our best wishes, and we hereby proclaim April 3rd, 2017 as Aidan Coyle Day in Farmington, Connecticut. Dated at Farmington, Connecticut, this 3rd day of April, 2017, Nancy Nickerson, Farmington Town Council. Would you like to come up and have a picture with Aidan? Oh, want to come over here, maybe? Here. Take these and
Oh, okay, then I'll steal your ads.
you still have one. And you have a Farmington hat.
Thank you. Here you go.
I'll give it here. I'm taking it. Amy, go ahead.
Spencer from Anna. And Spencer's mom and dad. I need my glasses. Yes. The Scout Oath. All the Scouts here know it. I am a mother of a Scout and knows it. A Scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. There is, I would say, no one in our entire troop that exemplifies these traits like you do. We had a court of honor, and some of the people either spoke to me or spoke about Spencer. A fellow Scout kept it simple. He's a perfect Scout. He's a great guy. A former Scoutmaster said, as polite and friendly a person you could ever meet. Another adult leader who was at a camping mishap with him said, one of those Scouts that you can always count on to be steady and get it done with no complaints. And another leader within our troop said, Spencer's positive attitude and lively sense of humor provide an upbeat atmosphere for everything he does. He best exemplifies a Scout as being loyal, always there for Eagle projects of friends, and patiently assisting with Scouts for, skills for our newest troop members. We had a court of honor on March 26th, I believe. Court of honor, there's a lot of celebrations, there are a lot of traditions, there's a lot of speeches, but what stood out the most that day for me was the speech by Spencer. Now Spencer, incredibly articulate young man, tons of leadership roles within our troop and within his school, tons of awards already, one for character, which really stood out to me, and many for academics. But what stood out was his speech. And what his speech was, it was all graciousness. He stood in front of probably about 100 people, right? He spoke as articulately as any of us here, and all he did was thank people. And he just didn't say thank you generally. He called individual people up, probably 8 different people, and thanked them specifically for what they did from what age? When Mrs. Hardiman was, how old were you from Ms. Hardiman? 7 on. And all he did was speak to his appreciation of these people. To me, that was huge. That graciousness, that maturity, and that awareness that there's no way he would have been there but for those people was fantastic. And to see that kind of graciousness in someone your age is enormously unique, and that really stood with me. That graciousness sort of ties to what his Eagle project was. he chose to do an outdoor prayer service space for Our Lady of the Calvary Women's Retreat on Colton Street in Farmington. And any of you can drive up there, but basically as you drive up on the left, there's this beautiful pathway and 2 benches, and there's landscaping around, and there's a statue of Mary there. And he said he did that for the women there and for people who just need a place to regroup and pray and find their space. And I think that was so unique and wonderful. So now you actually get the proclamation. At Scout Court of Honors, I read them and then I take them back. So the proclamation. Whereas the Boy Scouts of America help train the youth of our community with skills which will serve them well in the future, and whereas many of our youth participate in activities of the Boy Scouts of America which benefit our community, and whereas one of the crowning achievements of Boy Scouting is the attainment of the rank of Eagle Scout, and I say this every time, less than 2% of kids who start out make it to Eagle. In this town, we have 2 amazing troops that get people to Eagle, but this is not normal to see people regularly coming through. Whereas Spencer Shaler from Troop 68, Boy Scouts of America, recently completed the requirements for Eagle Scout. Whereas Spencer Shaler's project included the construction of an outdoor prayer space at the Our Lady of Calvary Women's Retreat in Farmington, Connecticut. Whereas Spencer Shaler installed 6-foot sitting benches made from pressure-treated and composite wood built as well as a half-inch stone pathway with steel edging surrounding a statue of Mary to create a pleasant space to think, pray, and talk. And whereas Spencer Shaler has demonstrated leadership and academic success as a recipient of the Dr. Bernard Harris Supernova Award, the National Youth Leadership Training Certificate, the Camp Wockerman Schotten Outpost Trek Award, the Award for Academic Excellence and Leadership in both Spanish and Science, and the Kingswood Oxford Alumni Character Award, and the Martin Nicholson Scholarship. And whereas, as a result of Spencer Shaler's work, the lives of the people of Farmington will be enriched and enhanced, and we thank you. Now, therefore, be it resolved that on behalf of Farmington Town Council, we hereby extend to Spencer Shaler and his parents our best wishes, and we hereby proclaim April 26, 2017 as Spencer Shaler Day in Farmington, Connecticut. Dated at Farmington, Connecticut, this 11th day of April, 2017, Nancy W. Nickerson, Chair, Farmington Town Council. And before I clap and congratulate you all, I, as a parent of a scout who's not an Eagle, knows how much work and time it goes into this. This is a family affair. This is a community affair. So I think everyone gets a hat. But your son, since he made it, Eagle, gets to pick the color first.
I don't know what color you guys want. Pick gray then.
All right, Mom and Dad get pink. Congratulations, congratulations, amazing job. You're welcome, and there you go.
And just to let you know, if you can be here a few more minutes, we have a few more hats coming down.
Yeah.
That was all that we had brought down, but we're going to make sure that everyone and your brother get one. Oh, can you hear me okay now?
Okay, got it.
Is that better?
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Thank you very much, and congratulations to both of you. Okay. And now we have the public hearing for the budget. Paula, would you read the?
Legal notice, Town of Farmington public hearing. A public hearing will be held on Monday, April 3rd, 2017, at 7:05 p.m. in the Town Hall Council Chambers on the Town Council's proposed budget for the fiscal year 2017-18. Dated at Farmington, Connecticut, this 20th day of March, 2017. Kathleen A. Egan, Town Manager.
All set? Okay. I think I have the print big enough that I don't even have to wear my glasses. Oh, right over here. Yeah.
Oh, that's.
And their parents. Good evening. I'm here tonight to present the Farmington Town Council budget for the 2017-18 fiscal year. The budget that we are presenting tonight has an increase of 0.9 to the mill rate, a 3.5% increase to the tax rate, an increase to the average household assessment of $232,074, or $209.57 a year. Our budget deliberations and decisions were based on our strategic plan, maintaining excellent services, and the current state of the Connecticut fiscal crisis. The tax rate this year is 3.5%. Although this is a higher tax rate increase than the last couple of years, it is a direct result of the governor's budget that reduces the state funding by almost 30%, or $1.7 million. If the town received the same state funding as last year, the tax rate with the town manager's original budget would have been 2.3%. This year, our grand list grew by 0.59%, which is the fourth year of steady growth. Even through the state's significant budget challenges affecting every community, Farmington continues to experience steady growth. Over the past year, the Landing of Farmington opened a beautiful state-of-the-art $13 million assisted living community. Pietro Rosa TBM acquired New England Airfoil Products excuse me, with plans to invest $10 million and add 100 new jobs over the next 5 years. And FIP Construction completed renovations to their new facility on New Britain Avenue. The Upson Nut Building in Unionville was completely renovated and restored, adding 10 new businesses and 64 new jobs in the area. Small businesses such as Vivid Hues, Happiest Inc., Soma Movement, and Green Tails Market are growing. Butchers and Bakers and Tap Rock Beer Bar and Refuge joined the budding restaurant scene. And the Farmington Avenue Medical Corridor is thriving. The future holds promise for redevelopment opportunities in Farmington Center, and several of our manufacturing plants are planning expansions. All signs point to continued growth here in Farmington. I'm proud to report that we continue to have a AAA Moody's rating. This is the result of a stable governing body, financial management stability, a strong tax base, funding our reserve account appropriately, and a commitment to funding our pension in a responsible manner. This allows our town to have a better bonding interest rate when borrowing. As of November 2016, only 17 towns in our state had a AAA Moody's rating. Farmington continues to be strong economically, with the residential tax base at 73% and the commercial at 27%. The economic strength in our town is evident by the consistent growth in our grand list over the past 4 years. The growth in personal property, which is business equipment and furnishings, demonstrates that businesses continue to thrive in Farmington, and it is a desirable community to work and live. We have excellent town services and an excellent school system. We are extremely proud of the services that we offer our residents, from curbside leaf pickup and bulk pickup to a nationally acclaimed school district. The town the town of Farmington wholeheartedly believes that volunteers are the true fabric of our community. We continually seek ways to recognize the time, effort, and talent that many volunteers donate to our community. From elected and appointed boards and commission members to the volunteer fire department, this town cares for its community with its strong volunteer base. When volunteers come together, this town can do amazing things. We recently dedicated the live fire training facility. This $1 million project was the result of the efforts of countless volunteers in our community who worked to raise funds for a critical fire training need in the region. Farmington's volunteers make this a wonderful community in which to live, work, and play. Thank you to all who contribute to our town through the volunteerism. Throughout this budget process, the Town Council is and continues to be committed to maintaining current service levels and to fund the town and the Board of Education at levels that would enable service levels to remain at high standards. We also stress that this budget would not be able to support many or any new initiatives. The Town Council believes that we have a responsibility to bring a fiscally responsible budget to the citizens of Farmington. This budget accomplishes that goal, but the state of Connecticut fiscal crisis should be recognized as a significant driver in this budget process. The proposed general fund appropriation to support the capital improvements is $2,398,000, which is a 2.33% of the projected annual general fund revenues allocated to the operating budget for the town and the schools. The capital improvement plan includes technology improvements, necessary equipment for town departments to ensure high quality of services to our residents and businesses. It includes sidewalk improvements for Unionville Center and replacement of turnout gear and a brush truck for our fire department. Even though the general fund appropriation for next year does not quite meet our capital improvement policy funding provision, it should be considered in conjunction with our historic funding practice. Over the last 3 years, the general fund appropriation for capital improvements has exceeded the funding policy, which allowed us to make significant progress toward meeting the town's capital improvement needs. In addition, the proposed funding level of $2,398,000 for next year, excuse me, is in line with the town's 5, 10, and 15-year average appropriation amounts. Over the past 5 years, the town of Farmington has made a significant investment in the town's capital improvement needs, allocating nearly $14 million. These expenditures have enabled the town to make improvements in the areas of communication, technology, infrastructure, including roads, maintenance and equipment, building improvements and renovation, energy and green initiatives, and emergency operations. This year, capital projects will also ensure compliance with certain statutory requirements and provide funding to carry out our strategic plan initiatives. There is no proposed bonding for fiscal year 2017-18 other than a potential Farmington High School building project that will be a separate referendum outside the budget process. This is anticipated for June. The recommended 2017-2018 budget continues the town's commitment to providing and funding exceptional services to our residents and our businesses. The proposed budget increases total expenditure by $2,147,420, or 2.13%. This equates to a 3.5% tax rate increase. The proposed budget was built to maintain current service levels for both the town and the Board of Education, despite a significant reduction in funding from the state of Connecticut. The governor's proposed budget decreases grants from the state by about 30%, or $1.7 million. At this time, I have no additional information on the impact to Farmington on the state's $1.5 billion deficit, or the attempted shifting of the teachers' pension funding to the town. Regardless of this state budget outcome, Farmington is steadfast in our commitment to high-quality services for our residents, and will continue to practice fiscal responsibility. Farmington is a great town to live and to work. We remain well-positioned in terms of economic development, exceptional education, and providing high-level services even in the most difficult and uncertain budget times. Now I'll call on the town manager and then the Board of Ed. Thank you.
Okay.
Good evening. Members of the public, I present for your review the Town Council's $759 from the budget that was requested by my departments. This decrease reduced the increase from the previous budget from 5% to 2.41%. The reduction maintained current service levels but did not allow for any real expansion of service. During budget deliberations last month, the Town Council made further reductions. The Board of Education budget was reduced by $150,000, and the town budget was reduced by $50,000. The general fund contribution to the capital budget was decreased by $330,000. The current state of Connecticut fiscal crisis should be recognized as a significant driver in this budget process. The governor's proposed budget has a considerable negative impact on the town of Farmington. Grants from the state are proposed to be decreased by 29.14%, or a decrease of $1,704,789 in funding. The governor has also proposed that municipalities fund 1/3 of the annual state teacher retirement fund contribution. The state has historically paid the entire liability. Farmington's proposed payment is $3,343,850. The Town Council proposed budget includes the reduction of $1,704,708 in state grants, but based on the information that we have received to date, this proposed budget does not include any contribution to the state teachers' retirement fund. Even with the significant reduction of grant funding, this budget continues to fund accounts at levels that will enable service levels to remain at high standards. The town's strategic plan and the town's capital improvement policy were the policy guidelines at the forefront when formulating this budget. The general fund budget includes the proposed spending for the town, for the school system, for debt service, and for capital improvements. The proposed budget for Westwood's Golf Course, the Recreation Fund, and the solid waste collection and disposal are also included for your review. The total proposed budget for fiscal year 17-18 is $102,747,135, an increase of $2,147,420, or 2.13% above the current budget. The recommended town expenditure increase is 2.24%. The recommendation maintains current service levels but does not allow for any real expansion of service. The proposed town budget is $28,860,794, which is 2.24% above the current expenditure. Highlights of the town operation by category include: general administration has a decrease of 1.97%. Public safety has an increase of 2.78%. Public works has an increase of 4.95%. Community and recreation has an increase of 4.58%, and the other category has an increase of 4.05%, for a total of 2.24%. I've also separated the budget by object, which includes salaries, benefits, supplies, equipment, contractual, and utilities. The increases for each object are as follows. For salaries, the increase is 2.25%. The benefits is 5.29%. The supplies is 0.04%. Equipment is a decrease of 17.62%. The contractual is an increase of 0.47%. And utilities, there is an increase of 3.48%. In summary, the Town Council's proposed budget is $28,860,794, which is an increase of $631,423, or 2.24% above the current expenditure. The debt group of accounts includes appropriations to make principal and interest payments on the town's long-term bonded debt. The total recommended amount for next fiscal year is $7,315,700. Funds are included to pay the short-term interest cost on a projected $42 million bond anticipation note that will be sold in April of 17. These notes are being issued to finance the wastewater treatment plant upgrade project. Special services. The refuse collection budget includes the cost of collecting and disposing of the solid and bulky waste generated by our town residents and the town's landfill operation. This budget proposes no rate increase. The annual fee will remain at $235 per household. The proposed general fund appropriation to support the capital improvements is $2,398,000. Even though the general fund appropriation for the next year does not quite meet our capital improvement policy, it should be considered in conjunction with our historical funding practice. Over the last 3 years, the general fund appropriation for capital improvements has exceeded the funding policy, which has allowed us to make significant progress towards meeting the town's capital improvement needs. The town's capital improvement plan, the CIP, and the town strategic plan were the policy guidelines that were at the forefront when formulating the CIP, while focusing the appropriations into 4 main funding themes. These themes are equipment infrastructure maintenance improvements, technology and communication initiatives, adherence to laws and compliance, and strategic plan initiatives. Shown here is a list of the proposed capital projects. There is no proposed bonding for fiscal year 17-18 other than a potential Farmington High School building project that will be a separate referendum item outside the budget process. The Water Pollution Control Authority budget shows no increase in the sewage usage rate. The Board of Education account includes a proposed appropriation of $64,172,641, an increase of 2.37% above the current year budget. I will now call on Chris Fagan and Kathy Greeter, who will discuss the Board of Education budget.
The arrow keys.
Okay.
Excellent.
Thank you, Kathy. Good evening, everybody. I'd just like to thank the chair and all fellow town council members for the opportunity to come before you tonight and present the Board of Education's 2017-2018 proposed budget. As usual, I'd be remiss if I didn't take an opportunity to thank Kathy, all her administrators, her staff, teachers, and everyone who took a hand in preparing this budget. It's a Herculean undertaking, and under the difficult circumstances we're operating under this year, it's even more so, and it's going to be an ongoing process. So I want to just, thank you for all your efforts, and also thank my fellow board members for their efforts in considering the budget this year. This slide is one we've seen before, and just kind of summarize some of the overreaching goals we are trying to achieve as the Board of Education. As an innovative learning organization, the mission and vision of the Farmington School District is deeply committed to a pathway of continuous improvement. Our teaching and learning process is based on the collaborative interactions among students, educators, parents, and families, and emphasizes the importance of clear expectations, rigorous standards-led curriculum, inspired instruction, personal effort, and engaged relationships leading to high levels of achievement for all learners. We collectively as a board and administration are ultimately guided in our efforts by the fundamental principle we call the vision of the graduate, whereby Farmington students will acquire an understanding of the essential knowledge and skills in the core academic disciplines and develop the thinking and learning skills needed to meet the challenges of local, national, and global citizenship in a rapidly changing world. And this slide sort of highlights the learning skills that we try and enforce, and as set forth there in greater detail, critical thinking and reasoning, communication and collaboration, problem solving and innovation, and self-direction and resourcefulness. Now, as Kathy alluded to, the proposed Farmington Board of Education budget for the 2017-2018 year, as reflected in the town's proposed budget, shows an increase or a total budget amount of $64,172,641, which reflects an increase of $1,486,565, or 2.37% over the 2016-2017 budget. And as you will note, there's an asterisk on this slide, and as you are aware, the Board of Education originally proposed to the council a budget of 2.61 when we appeared before you a couple of weeks ago. That amount was reduced to the aforementioned 2.37% at the council meeting on March 18th. And at a subsequent March 20th Board of Education meeting, the board did not approve that reduction. And I'm always hesitant to speak for others, and I would direct the council to the videotape of that meeting should they so desire to better understand the opinions and sentiments expressed by my fellow board members. But I do think it's fair to say that various board members were hesitant to proceed with approving the council's reduced budget when it was not entirely clear or certain at that time that additional reductions may be forthcoming. When the council canceled previously scheduled workshops when it was clear no further budgetary guidance or clarity would be coming from the governor's office, we attempted to convene a special meeting of the board, but were unable to do so. So we come before you tonight under somewhat admittedly unconventional circumstances in terms of the budget process. And the goal of Kathy and I tonight, as it was at the previous Board of Education meeting, where the reduced budget was considered, is to provide as much detail and transparency as we can to the community as to where the educational budget would be further reduced to meet the town council approved budget of increase of 2.37%. So in anticipation of the March 20th Board of Education meeting, I asked Kathy to prepare proposed reductions for our consideration, and those concepts were presented, discussed, and are presented on this slide. As you will note, and as a testament to the continued fiscal responsibility and commitment to operational success of the administration, we have proposed to reduce our budget with a series of what we like to call least impactful cuts, which in essence leaves teachers and programming fully intact and in place. As you'll see on the slide and broken down by the various objects, we've been able to capitalize and seize upon sort of operational efficiencies in the self-insurance program, which is performing a little better than expected. Unanticipated teacher turnover with a couple of resignations sort of counteracted with contractual retirement benefits. Less utilization of the advanced degree program by the teaching staff. And in addition, Vince has been able to put in place a wonderful district-wide copier contract, which is performing a little bit better than anticipated. So taking all those objects together, we've been able to seize upon or identify at this point in time the additional $150,000 in savings that would get us to the 2.37% as approved by the town council. So these proposed reductions will be again presented to the board for its review at its regularly scheduled meeting for tomorrow night. You know, and at this point in time, I mean, I just want to reiterate that we acknowledge as a board that these are very challenging times, and you know, we'd be remiss if we didn't sit there and worry about every day when we come pick up the newspaper, turn on the news, and see what further reductions are coming from the state. I mean, on the way here tonight, I stopped at home to feed the dog, and there's a story about Groton's educational budget crisis and the fact that they are potentially considering closing a elementary school. And they're operating under the same financial uncertainty that we are. But, you know, as I think I mentioned last time, that, you know, these adverse and challenging times require us to sort of exhibit our character and commitment to honor our commitment to fund the public schools here in Farmington and honor the commitment to our families and the students. So as we go forward, I would just encourage the council to, you know, honor that commitment and continue to make Farmington Public Schools, you know, as great as they are and continue to be in the future. And it's the reason why, you know, we're proud to call ourselves Farmington residents and proud to send our kids to the schools here in Farmington. So that's all for me. So at this point in time, I'd like to just bring Kathy up, introduce Kathy Greeter, the superintendent, to provide a little more detail as to the budget.
Thank you, Chris. Good evening. This year, the 2017-18 budget was achieved through a collaborative effort across the school district and in partnership with the Board of Education, placing a high priority on zero-based budgeting, maintaining services, and a long-term approach to finding efficiencies in all aspects of our fiscal plan. Fiscal limitations due to the proposed state-level reductions were significantly considered in this budget, and we did not achieve all that we planned on achieving in the budget for the coming year as a result of that reality. Although fiscal limitations do impact the rate at which we can achieve our vision of the graduate, it does not deter us from that vision as we look toward the coming school year. As Chris highlighted, our vision of the graduate outlines the core body of knowledge and the thinking and learning skills all Farmington students master prior to graduation. Improvement efforts and our financial plan in Farmington are aligned to the vision of the graduate, which places Farmington at the forefront of innovation in teaching, learning, student outcomes, and students as leaders of their own learning at the regional, state, and national levels. The recommended budget I present to you was collaboratively developed to address Farmington's compelling mission. Our mission was designed to directly align to our goals and vision of the graduate, creating a strong through line from our mission and goals to all classrooms, all students, and all schools. The recommended budget maintains core programming aligned to the Board of Education's 5-year goals, vision of the graduate, and mission in the areas outlined on this slide: innovative programming K-12, elementary world language programming, supports for students' social emotional well-being, continued curriculum development, a focus on staff and faculty development, a focus on maintaining technology integrated instruction across all classrooms, and class size levels in accordance with Board of Education policy. We have much to be proud of in Farmington. Farmington continues to be highlighted at the regional, state, and national levels for excellence in teaching and learning and student outcomes. This reinforces Farmington's investment in our schools. I'll highlight a few notable examples. New Pedagogies for Deep Learning. Farmington Public Schools was asked to join an international network of high-performing, innovative school districts, the only district in Connecticut invited to this group. FHS students were invited to present at Harvard and a Boston startup company on organizational improvement. P21 Blogazine. Farmington Public Schools continues to be featured on the P21 Blogazine, which is viewed at national and international levels. We now have engaged Farmington students as contributors to the P21 Blogazine. Farmington has been recognized for its focus on student voice through panorama videos viewed at the national and international levels. Recently, 2 Farmington art teachers have been named Outstanding Educators in Connecticut by the CAEA, and at this year's National Harvard Economic Challenge, Farmington High School earned first place, competing against elite public and private schools from across the country. That was this weekend. And international. These are just a few notable highlights, and again, through the community's investment in our schools, we continue to lead the way in education. Here are examples of our favorable state rankings when it comes to expenditures. There is a relationship between the accomplishments slide and these rankings. Excellence in education and fiscal responsibility and management. The rankings are based on Connecticut's 169 towns, with 1 spending the most and 169 spending the least. Employee benefits, 148th. Farmington continues to partner with employees and the town on our healthcare design that provides quality healthcare benefits that engage employees as consumers. In turn, we have extraordinary trending in claims. Purchase services, 125th. This ranking reflects the excellent work of our business office through regional purchasing that has led to cost-effective purchasing. Special education, 134th. We continue to provide exemplary programming in special services in a fiscally responsible manner. School-based administration, 148. Farmington administrators on average supervise, develop, and evaluate more teachers than similar districts. This is truly impressive when we look at the state's teacher evaluation guidelines and requirements, increased legislative demands, and our own internal expectations of administrators. General administration is 160th. Given our outstanding outcomes coupled with our favorable expenditure rankings, here are some specific examples of how we focus each day on cost containment and avoidance while providing a quality education for all Farmington students. The town of Farmington's contract negotiations for fuel has resulted in significant savings in bus fuel in the 2017-18 budget. Farmington has worked with its parts vendor for Chromebooks to sell back unused power adapters from new Chromebook purchases, defraying the cost of repair parts. Our membership to ERC has led to savings in the district-wide copy equipment lease in 2017, 18, and beyond. Here are some additional examples of cost containment measures that to address diminishing support from the state and federal levels. I will highlight a couple of areas on this slide. We continue to share transportation services with other towns whenever possible for special services. And new vans and transportation have increased ridership and minimized maintenance costs. Although we have increased student need in special services, we continue to take a fiscally responsible approach to excellence in program development and services, as seen on this slide comparison of special services costs across districts. The first driver of the budget is salaries. As you can see, this accounts for 67.92% of the budget and reflects collaborative negotiations between various associations and the Board of Education. The 100 series reflects a 2.69% increase over this year's budget. Each year, we carefully study staffing levels to address needs and find efficiencies whenever possible. This budget has examples of staffing efficiencies as well as moving staffing from volatile grants to the operating budget in a phased-in approach. We also are addressing increased mandates as well as maintaining services and programming for our students. The second major driver is employee benefits. This account provides for 100% of expected paid claims and the administration of employee health insurance. We are proud to continue to experience employee costs of healthcare services below industry average. The increase in this series is driven by stop-loss insurance increases due to a few catastrophic claims. You can see that life and long-term disability costs are on this slide as well. The 200 series accounts for 14.66% of the budget. There is a 3.06% increase in this account. This slide provides an overview of our best practices approach in self-insurance management. We have included some examples of how we provide excellent healthcare benefits to all employees while remaining fiscally responsible to the taxpayers of Farmington. It is important to note that in this budget, the increase in employee benefits is driven primarily by stop-loss insurance costs increase due to a limited number of large claims, while overall claims are trending very well. The 300 series includes varied items. It accounts for 13.86% of the total budget. It reflects a 0.51% increase. This is an area of significant cost avoidance and containment through strong contract negotiations for utilities, fuel, and copiers. It also reflects a focus on educating our students in the school district in the area of special services. Here are some examples of cost avoidance and containment in the 300 series. All these examples are a reflection of the hard work of our faculty, staff, and Board of Education, as well as a partnership with the town of Farmington. The 400 supply series reflects a 0.49% increase and accounts for 2.62% of the total budget. This account provides for facilities used in swimming and ice hockey competitions and for the purchase of a wide range of items such as instructional, health, custodial, computer, and testing supplies. The 500 series reflects equipment requests. It is a 0.55% of the total budget. There is a 3.61% increase for equipment. I do want to note that this is an area that has experienced cuts in the past, which has impacted the pace of our technology plan implementation. We have worked in partnership with the Board of Education and Town Council to build a technology infrastructure and capacity over several years, and we are now moving to replacing and repurposing Chromebooks. Here are several examples of how the school district, under Matt Ross's leadership, has focused on strategic cost allocation and excellence in technology programming. I'll highlight 2 items from this slide to illustrate our strategic approach. We worked out trade-ins and sellbacks with vendors for unused or replacement devices and parts, and we used the credit for new purchases. Our overall savings was about $10,000. We redeployed energy conservation utility to monitor computer power. This resulted in a reanalysis of our infrastructure and an estimated $80,000 savings to the district by Eversource. Dues and fees are the last series, the 600 series. It reflects a 0.40% of the total budget with a 0.12% increase. This includes memberships to organizations and liability and property insurance. The next slide is an overview of the major budget drivers that reflect a 2.37% increase over the 2016-17 school district budget, all of which were reviewed during the presentation. This is a unique budget year for our community. We are experiencing unprecedented proposed reductions in state and federal financial support to our school district and town. And at the same time, the state continues to increase unfunded mandates that stretch our resources. Even with these challenges, we remain committed to providing a world-class education that enables all students to achieve academic and personal excellence, exhibit persistent effort, and live as resourceful, inquiring, and contributing global citizens. Farmington is leading the way in excellence in teaching and learning, as well as student outcomes and achievements. Our financial plan supports and advances these efforts. We are a school district that provides an exemplary education in a community that supports innovation, continuous improvement, and excellence. Although fiscal limitations are impacting the rate at which we can achieve our vision of the graduate, it does not deter us from that vision. We have taken a long-term, strategic, and highly effective approach to cost containment, avoidance, and savings so that resources are aligned directly to our mission, core beliefs, and goals, which are our promises at the student level. We take great pride in implementing a strategic approach to cost containment through collaborative negotiations, partnerships, strong contract negotiations, ongoing reviews of programming and staffing to realize efficiencies, knowing that it is essential to do so on behalf of the taxpayers of Farmington, especially with diminishing financial support from the state and federal levels. Our student, faculty, school, and district accomplishments, continuous improvement efforts, rigorous curriculum, and high-quality programming have contributed to a nationally recognized education here in Farmington. This recommended budget includes the resources necessary to maintain the value of the taxpayers' investment in the Farmington schools and provides a high-quality, results-oriented education that ensures that all students lead productive and rewarding lives. The recommended 2017-18 budget is responsive to our community and to our students. I want to call up Kathy Egan to complete the Town of Farmington's budget presentation.
The grand list. The grand list is broken down into three categories: real estate, personal property, and motor vehicles. The real estate account shows a 0.34% increase, the personal property account shows a 3.8% increase, and the motor vehicle account shows a 1.07% increase. In summary, the grand list increased by 0.59%, or $21,138,543, for a total grand list of $3,595,959,571. Personal property increased by 3.8%. This is a significant increase and demonstrates the strong business environment in Farmington. Revenues, grants, charges, and other. I've broken down revenue into 8 categories: other property taxes, license and permits, fines and penalties, interest, grants, service charges, other, and Westwoods Golf Course. As stated earlier, state and federal grants have been reduced by 29.14%, or $1,704,789. In summary, revenues are $7,901,702, a decrease of $1,633,502, or 17.13%. The proposed tax and mill rate. The proposed general fund budget will require a property tax rate of 26.68 mills, an increase of 0.90 mills, and a tax increase of 3.5%, or $209.57 for the average homeowner with a house assessed at $232,074. A few dates to note. The annual town meeting is April 17th, 2017 at 7 p.m. at the Farmington Town Hall High School Auditorium. And the referendum vote is Thursday, April 27th, at April 27th at your regular polling places. Also wanted to note that the April 4th and 5th meeting have been canceled for tomorrow and Wednesday. Thank you.
Before we go to our, now we'll have public comment on this, on the public hearing of the budget. I just want to thank Kathy Greeter and Chris and the Board of Ed for your hard work in this endeavor again, and Kathy Egan and her staff before we start. Thank you. If anyone would like to address the council, please come up to the podium and state your name and your address. Quiet evening, I think.
Spring fever.
Spring fever, yes, yes. Okay, well, with that, I will close the public hearing.
Madam
Oh,
Chair.
sorry.
Later? Okay, thank you.
Oh. Okay, any new items? Now, regular public comment on any issue on the agenda or in town. Anything you'd like to bring to our attention? Okay, we'll move on. Reading of the minutes.
I'd like to move to approve the March 15th, 2017 minutes of the special town council meeting.
Second.
Any corrections? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
I move to approve the March 15th, 2017 regular town council meeting minutes.
Second.
Any corrections? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
I move to approve the March 16th, 2017 special town council meeting minutes.
Second.
Any corrections or changes? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Finally, I move to approve the March 18th, 2017 special town council meeting minutes.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, reading of communications and written appeals.
You just have the two that are in your packet.
Report of committees. Yukon Health, no report. Land acquisition.
Nothing to report.
Green efforts.
So I want to bring everybody's attention to the April 29th Farmington Cleanup Day. This is an annual event where residents throughout Farmington help by cleaning our streets. And there's a competition, so we will be bringing in parcels for weighing of the amount of trash that you can pick up. And at the end of the day on Saturday at 1 o'clock, we will know the winners. So I encourage everybody to get out there and help out. Last year it was a record year in terms of the amount of poundage and the number of people. And it was really impressive to see the school groups and the youth groups throughout town helping out tremendously last year. So we hope that all continues. And again, that's April 29th.
Okay, thanks, John. Joint Town of Farmington, City of Hartford. Gateway.
Nothing new to report, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kathy, our next meeting is April 20th
That sounds about right.
in this chamber at 5:30.
5 o'clock.
5.
5 o'clock.
We could start at 5:30.
We could.
Okay, Farmington High School.
So the building committee last Thursday, which was March 30th, hosted a community meeting on the project. Tours of the facility preceded the meeting. And what happened was the architects presented the features of the selected option, option D1. And just a reminder to the public out there that all of the plans and presentations, as well as building committee meetings, can be viewed on the project website, which is fhsbuildingproject.org. And in terms of next steps, the architects are expected to complete the schematic design drawings on Thursday, April 6th. The drawings will be sent to the construction manager for a cost estimate, and the full schematic design package with the associated project cost will be complete by April 28th. And the FHS, the building committee, is expected to approve that package at their May 3rd meeting. So important upcoming dates include the regularly scheduled meeting this Wednesday, April 5th at 4:30 at the high school. And then they are doing a preliminary presentation of the option in front of TPZ at TPZ's April 10th meeting.
Madam Chairman?
Is TPZ here? Excuse me. Is TPZ's here at 7 o'clock?
7 o'clock in the
On
council
the 10th.
chambers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead, John.
If I could bring your attention, somewhere between page 1 and page 2 is committee number 5, the Bicycle Advisory Committee.
Oh, gee. Okay.
We have no report.
Oh, okay. Okay. Okay, and Meredith, that's it.
That's it.
Okay, thank you, John. Thank you, Meredith. Report of the council chair and liaison. Chair report. I have no report tonight, other than just to, hopefully everyone will be coming to the meeting on April 17th. It's a town meeting, as you see on the board, the annual town meeting. I would encourage people to come to share your thoughts, and at that point, we'll be moving the budget forward. Board of Ed.
I guess all that I have to report is that the Board of Ed will be meeting tomorrow evening, and they'll discuss what was discussed earlier today in regards to their vote. I have several questions for the Board of Education, so I think I'll address some of those questions this evening under the.
Oh, the budget? Yes.
Yeah, when we vote, and then possibly I'll attend the Board of Ed meeting tomorrow to also address these questions directly with the board.
Okay, great.
So, thank you.
Okay. UVIA.
I wanted to let people know that although the Unionville Festival is not occurring until September 24th, they are re-energizing the festival, hopefully with some new blood, and new participants are welcome at the first festival meeting, which is coming up this Wednesday, April 5th at 7 o'clock p.m. here in the town hall. So I wanted to throw that out. And also Nancy Parent will be jumping into work on the summer movie series. And so we'll announce the movies and the dates a little bit later, closer to the summer.
Thank you. Hard to believe. Summer movie. TPC. Thank you.
A couple of things to report. At last Monday's meeting, Metro Realty Group put in for a zone change application to utilize now our new floating zone up in the South Road, Yukon area. The zone change was approved along with a site development plan for a new 25,000 square foot building on, I think, roughly 55 South Road. So a new office medical building will be going up on South Road in the near future, which is a good thing for up in that area. The floating zone's starting to pay off. The next thing was some other good stuff. The Farmington High School presented to TPZ to put a new LED signage board at I would presume at the base of Monteith Drive. It's going to be a 3-foot by 8-foot size message board that will be utilized for school events and potentially local emergencies or Amber Alerts or something like that also. So that was given approval, and the kids did a wonderful job presenting that application, and they sought approval and gained it. The next good thing is a little restaurant update kind of thing. Cultivo and Scene Art Bar put in a joint application to have some outdoor seating and dining for some private events down at their facility. I guess anywhere between 25 and 40 people outside with a tent and tables out there. So that will be hopefully coming this spring, early spring, throughout the fall.
Oh, so it was approved.
Yes, it was
Great.
approved.
That's great.
And just one other thing, just as you're going by the old Flagstaff barbecue place, it looks like Greentails Market is going to move their pet supply store into that facility on Farmington Avenue.
Oh,
So,
great.
yes, John?
If I could have a question, on the lighted sign,
Yep.
does this set a precedent so that now businesses can proceed with lighted signs?
The board discussed that, and they didn't have as much discussion on it. They thought that this was good for the community in terms of notifying events at the high school. There was some concerns that this might set a precedent for future applications on lighted signs or interior lighted signs. But based on what I heard from that board, it didn't seem to show much concern at that moment for any precedent.
Did the town planner offer an opinion as to whether it set a precedent?
Not that I recall.
Yeah, my understanding is that what they did was, and I can check back on it, but what I remember is that there's only going to be the LED signs on public property, so they excluded, and so I think that's what how it worked out.
All right, good.
Okay, thank you. WPCA,
I have nothing to report.
Economic Development,
Nothing to report.
Human Relations.
Not to report, but just was two really wonderful pro-Farmington things I noticed since the last meeting I'd like to point out. One, there was Northern Regional's music festival a few weeks ago, and it was for Westwoods and IAR. I think there were probably about 30 different schools there. The reason I bring it up is I sat there looking at the booklets, and of at least on the orchestra side, 25% of the kids who were there out of 30 schools were from Farmington, which is outstanding. And it's important for us to remember what we're producing. And I just thought, 25% of the orchestra kids were from Farmington, and there's 30 schools. I just thought that was a wonderful thing to pass on. The other thing I wanted to pass on, more pro-Farmington, is, as Kathy Breeder just pointed out, there was a competition at Harvard University this weekend for economics, and there were schools from all over the country, internationally, and many schools, private schools, showed Exeter sort of the best and the brightest. And Farmington, our nice little public school, won the whole thing. And we have a pretty phenomenal town, and I think I just like to pass on a lot of the good news. And I know it doesn't fit neatly in human relations, but I feel like as advocates of our town, it's important to pass on those good things. So.
Always great to hear those
Always,
things
yes.
here.
We have,
And the public to hear them.
yes, no, absolutely.
Absolutely.
These are great kids.
Great, thank you. Chamber.
So before that, I'm Dr. Juno, so I'm sure you're happy to hear that.
That's true.
So, guess what, Council? It's that time of year again. You don't know what I'm talking about, do you? What do I get excited about? The Chamber's annual pizza event.
Oh, yes. And when is that?
That is tomorrow evening at the Farmington Gardens. So I'll be there before I go to the Board of Ed meeting.
What time is it?
It's at 5, starts at 5 o'clock, I believe. And it's just a fun event where local pizza shops in town show off their wares, and we get to vote on it. I know my daughters always have a good time voting on it. And
5 to what time?
oh, probably till it's over.
Till 7 or something.
Okay, all right.
7 to 8 o'clock. So anyway, that's really all I have to report. But it's a fun event. So I know it'll be too late for those watching at home, but it always is. So,
Okay,
that's
thank
it.
you.
Thank you.
Other liaison reports. I did forget to mention something that Relay for Life is coming up. And if anyone is interested in participating, it's at the Polo Grounds again this year, and my understanding it's quite it really has enlarged. I mean, last year it seemed tremendous. It just grows and grows and grows. So if anybody's interested in signing up, just go right ahead. And the date, May, I want to say 12th, and that's not right.
No, it's the week, I think it's the week after.
It's whenever our convention is.
Oh,
I think it might be 20th. I think it's May. Let's see.
Okay, well, I'll look that up
Yeah.
while I'm sitting here, and get back. But if anyone's interested, and out there, if anyone's interested, please just contact somebody from Relay for Life, and you can help get involved. Report of the town manager, Kathy.
Just a reminder, again, you can tell we're coming into spring, is that your announcement for the Memorial Day Parade. So, Memorial Day Parade, the parade in the Farmington section will form up at 8 o'clock and step off at 8:30, and then we'll go to Unionville at 10 for 10:30. So, we usually march together as a group. And just a quick economic development update is that we talked about it a little bit with Nancy when you were talking about at the budget, but Upson Marketplace in Unionville, they did receive a Connecticut Main Street Award for Excellence and the town of Farmington was listed as a partner in that award. So just wanted to let you know about that. And then you have my quarterly reports, and I don't know if you have any specific questions on the reports, but I'm sure you can see by the reports there's a lot going on, and I'd be more than happy to answer any specific questions or get back to you on answers.
It is the 20th.
It is? Okay.
Yep,
that's right, yeah.
May 20th for Relay for Life. Okay, questions for Kathy? Go ahead, Amy.
Kathy, with respect to the Parsons property.
Yep.
You have prepared for the acquisition of the Parsons property in 2017. Do you have a proposed timeline or structure of when we'll bring that to the town?
I know that Bill Warner has been working on that. We can't do anything, obviously, until they're completely done with the project for the staging, because of the staging of everything that goes on. So we still have a little bit of time, and if you do remember that we do have the right for first refusal. So I think actually it is moving along pretty quickly, so I think Bill is probably going to kind of firm up of how the process, he sees it working for us.
But it probably will be a different vote than the budget vote?
Yes, I would,
Okay.
yeah, I would think so.
Okay.
Other questions? If you can just explain to me a little bit about the gateway. The next, I know that you're done with the the Farmington Center, and now it's going to the developers. What's the next, who's in the next step? How does that, can you just explain?
I think the Gateway has made a recommendation for a zone change for designed diagrams, all to the TPZ. So really, the Gateway now except for the conveyance of the property, which would be a council action if we chose to buy the Parsons property. Really, the Gateway now is in the TPZ's hands. It's
Didn't they approve it?
because they are.
And they approved it.
Then they've approved it.
Yeah.
They've approved
Well,
it.
but I mean, as I guess I didn't understand quite when they approved the zoning of it.
Right.
Right.
But as a business comes in and says, I'd like to, it all goes to TPZ.
TPZ. yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
the specifics of those places go
Have
through
to go-
TPZ.
Exactly.
But the guidelines have been approved. Everything that the Gateway presented to TPC has been approved. So now Peter has us on a new part of town.
Now we're on the five.
Now we're up to five corners.
Five
Right,
corners
right,
of town.
right.
So really, for the Gateway's role in the Farmington Center, our role is pretty much done there. And then the majority of the things that are upcoming will be with the TPZ. So when an individual developer comes, they would go through the TPZ, they go through the design, the historic district, if it has to go through historic district, the normal process. But now they have that master plan that shows this is what we want it to look like, these are what the design should look like, this is the kind of development we would like. And those are our recommendations, which I think the TPZ is going to, if they haven't already, incorporate into the Plan of Conservation and Development,
And that
so they could see that. And so that kind of gives, and again, going back to Jeff Apuzzo, when we started this Gateway, is instead of us being reactive, we're proactive now. So when a developer comes in, this is what we would like it to look like, instead of them coming in and saying, well, how about this kind of development and no one likes it, or this type of development, or this
It
kind
has
of
to fit in
housing.
to begin with.
It has to fit in.
So they
Yeah.
go right to the, they can really actually circumvent all that kind of stuff, because they
Right.
know what they
What
can and can't do.
Exactly.
What's expected in the development. So-
And Nancy, there's an architectural review board as well as historic. There's a bunch of layers now that any developer has to go through.
Right.
That's basically
In
the design
addition to TPZ.
right, in addition, before it goes to TPZ. So everything that the Gateway produced will be implemented, but we're not involved anymore.
We're not.
Right.
we're-
Well, I
we're
know
off
you're
to-
not.
We're off to our next project.
We're off to us.
Right.
Okay,
That was,
all right. Thank you. That's the only question I had about your report. Anything else? Well, I just want to say thank you for these. We see a lot's going on. So we appreciate these reports and updates. It really, I had a number of questions, and these answered a number of my questions, so thank you. And thank you to your staff for that as well.
Perfect.
Okay,
I move to approve the report of the town manager.
Second.
any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Appointments. John?
This is L10. I'd like to make a motion that Ronald Goralski will be appointed to the Bicycle Advisory Committee, beginning immediately for an indefinite term.
Second?
Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. No old business, new business. N1.
I move to approve the attached town council's recommended budget for the fiscal year 2017-2018.
Second.
Okay. We've had our presentation, and now I would, tonight we're going to approve this and move it forward to April 17th. Well, we'll have the meeting on April 17th. So are there any comments or questions about the budget that you'd like to? No. John and John.
So I have a question. I'm not sure, given the fact that the Board of Education is not here, I'm not sure if Joe might be able to answer this. The Board of Education was saying that tomorrow night they're going to be voting on a change to their insurance policy to move $50,000 out of their self-insurance policy. Now, the way the policy we set up works is that there's two things that are significant about self-insurance. One is the amount of money you need to cover next year's claims, and the other is the amount of money you have in surplus from prior years. So the policy was set up so that both the town and the Board of Education would set aside the amount of money they need, actuarially speaking, to cover claims. So that should be an accurate estimate of exactly what they need. There is money left over in surplus, which they hopefully won't need. When they're talking about taking away $50,000, are they taking it out of the surplus, or are they reducing their actuarial needs?
I could tell you, we can tell you this, what they should be, I think, doing is that they are funding at 100% of expected claims.
Okay.
They also have the reserve of 25%.
Okay.
And they are taking that $50,000 above that number. That is my understanding.
Okay, so the reduction of $50,000 will still leave them within the policy of having 25% surplus?
Yes.
Thank you.
That's my understanding.
Now, I don't have to go to the Board of Education.
Okay, yeah, so I just have a couple questions regarding this situation. The chair, when he made his presentation, he used the word unconventional in regards to the fact that the Board of Education has not voted on approved reductions at this point. So just a couple questions so that I can get my bearings here. And I guess maybe the town clerk is the right person to address here, but why are we meeting tonight on a Monday?
Because the charter requires so many days before the annual town meeting for you to have a public hearing on the budget. In the past, the council used to meet on Monday night, have their public hearing on the budget, and then come on Tuesday night and have their meeting. But then, about 7-8 years ago, they decided they could combine it into one night.
Okay. And the purpose of the public hearing is what?
It's a chance, while it didn't happen tonight, it's a chance for you have deliberated in March, and you have created your proposed budget. And now you're having a public hearing on it, and you're giving the public a chance to come and speak to you about how they feel your budget is. Then at this point in the meeting, you would have an opportunity to react to what you heard from the public. That if you had an overwhelming amount of people that came and talked about the fact that they still wanted that dump truck, then you could actually put it back in now.
And would that be basically for the town side, or would that be for the Board of Education side as well?
You would be acting on both sides of the budget.
Except on the board side, it would be dollar amount.
Amount.
On the town side, it could be a specific item.
Okay. And so So with that being said, we as a council tonight are supposed to vote on this approved, or
What you're
on the
doing
town.
tonight is you are sending it to the town meeting.
Okay. And under normal circumstances, we would know everything that we were voting on, right? That would be in that budget, and right now we don't. So is
Well,
it
you're-
safe to say we're being expected to vote on a budget to move forward to the town meeting, that we don't necessarily know line item by line item what's in it?
Well, almost every year,
How so?
I cannot remember a time, well, this year is more volatile, I cannot remember a time that the legislature finished up early and you knew exactly what they were gonna do.
No, you mean by the.
I'm talking about from the Board of Education side. Right now, there's $150,000 in the board budget
Ultimately,
that we
the
don't know
bottom
about.
line is the.
And the
Board of-
public doesn't know about either.
It really doesn't matter, because there's one overriding fact here. Whether they take the reductions now, or they take them in July, or they take them in September, by the end of next fiscal year, they have to have balance with the amount of money that you gave them. It really doesn't matter when they do it. They, by law, they're gonna have to meet the dollar amount that you give them by next June 30th. And they can make it transparently ahead of time, or they can tell everyone they're gonna recoup it through the year.
Yeah.
They have one obligation, and that's to be balanced by the end of next fiscal year.
But typically, in previous years, they have presented a budget at this point where we knew what the line items were.
Typically, but there has been an occasion where they have not.
Okay, that would be my next question. Do you happen to know when that may have been? I know you've been around a long time.
I would say it was if I had to guess, maybe 12 years
I
ago.
won't hold you to it or anything.
Something
but-
around,
Okay.
not in very recent history, but not ancient history. Because I haven't been here that long.
Okay, so the general consensus is that we as a body up here should feel comfortable moving this thing forward, even though we don't necessarily know everything that's in it. Is that
You mean-
that's a consensus
Well-
up here?
Well,
This
you're-
is new to me,
you're-
so.
You're, as the financial body of the town, you have set a amount of money that you're giving the Board of Ed. And so you know that. So it's nothing that you don't know.
Yes, there
It's-
is. Well, I,
Do you ever know how, you don't have a right on how they spend their money. You just have a right on how much you're giving them. And you know how much you're giving them, and it says it right in this budget.
I can say in the 5 years that I served on the Board of Education and the 3 budgets I passed in the town council, on this night, I have always known exactly what I was moving forward, for better or for worse. And believe me, I've been through the very bottom and been through the high side of it, both sides.
But
So
all-
that's why I'm asking, because I just don't want to vote yes up here if it,
But the Board of Education, they could set each and every line item,
they do.
and as soon as when we approve a bottom line, and then they can spend the money on whatever they want. They're not,
Well, you're making my argument that they have an expense account and not a budget, but that's another story for another day.
but they can go over, and if they find out that they need more money for teachers, they can take it away from some other category in July.
They
So,
sure
but
can.
what they can't do is overspend the amount at the bottom line. And that's what we're approving.
Okay, so that answers that. So my next question, and we do have a member of the board here, I don't know if, it's my understanding that because of the situation that happened a few weeks ago or a week and a half ago, that the board seek legal counsel? Is that correct? For an opinion?
We did reach out, Chris Fagan did reach out to Tom Mooney for an opinion with Kathy Reeder to look into the situation, and he provided one to the council for feedback.
Okay, so then that would be, so tomorrow evening, if I showed up to the Board of Education, I could ask about legal counsel and how much expense was incurred to the taxpayers of the Farmington for that counsel?
I would probably defer that to
Okay.
the administration and to the board chair at this point, because I have not been provided with that information.
Just to be clear, that the legal counsel, what's in that document, you're not going to be privy to, because it's between the board and the thing, but the dollar amount of the legal counsel is a public
Yeah, that's
information,
really
just
what
like-
I'm concerned with, the dollar amount. I want to know how much this costs the
Yeah,
the
okay.
taxpayers.
Just wanna make sure you understood that.
No, crystal clear. I appreciate that, Kathy. Okay, so I think that's really about all I have to ask or say on this subject right now.
Other comments? And I think, I want to say a couple things. One, we did go around this, back and around this about what the legal obligation is, and I understand that the board's legal obligation is to have that line at the end of the year. They have to have that balanced budget. But personally, this is myself, this has nothing to do with the whole council, I think it is, that tomorrow night, I'm hopeful that they're going to make the reductions in the Board of Ed, so that the community knows where and in what direction the Board of Ed is going. So I think that that's just being transparent. That's why we would make our decisions of where we're going and let Kathy know. I understand that they don't have to, they can do whatever they want in their budget. We're clear on that. But I think it would be transparent, and the community, the community should know where this Board of Education is going with reductions.
Can I ask one more question? And
Yeah.
I don't want to overstep my bounds here, but do we know what the vote total was for this application of this duty?
Yeah, 5-4.
5 to 4?
I watched the meeting. I would encourage people to watch the meeting on TV, which is on Nutmeg, which is being taped. We're being taped right now. I would encourage people to watch the meeting, and then you can get a clear flavor of it for yourself, and you can see what the board decided and what their reasoning was. So just as you can for our meetings and what our reasoning is of why we do what we do. So. And I also have to say that our timeline, one of the things that was brought up was, why were we doing this now and why weren't we waiting? And that was discussed at length at the Board of Ed meeting. The reason we are doing what we are and doing is because of our timeline, because of our charter, what Paula just mentioned, and what we have to do to set a budget to move forward tonight and then the 17th. We can't just wait. Well, and two indications. One was that it may not happen, and I had reached out to Mike D'Amico and asked him just recently. He didn't think that they would know anything until June. And I know others have indicated that it could even be October. So for us not to move forward with a budget in place and to do it in the best that we can, and the good faith that we have here among all of us, the 7 people here, and of course Kathy presenting it to us, but with this council, is to do what we think is the best thing, and with what we know now. And as I said in my remarks, we have no idea what the $1.5 billion is going to mean to us, the deficit at the state level, and we don't know where they're going to go with the pensions. And at this point, it's $3+ million for us. Means significant decrease in our, a reduction in our budget if, in fact, we have to take that on. So we will find that out hopefully sooner than later, but probably not till June and possibly later. But at least we have a budget to move forward with, and that's very important, and I believe that's important to the community. So, other comments? Look, Meredith.
Well, I think to your point, too, I've heard questioning just about our timing and motivations and stuff. And I think I've just read the news and I've seen that some towns kind of are, in a way, playing politics with their budget by accepting the full governor's proposed impact to them. And some towns are doing the complete opposite by putting in none of the proposed impact to their town, and doing it for politically motivated reasons. And I think the one thing that's great about what we have, although I think we've kind of disagreed slightly about the specific amounts and reductions and not taking reductions, but at least I think we have a baseline agreement on trying to portray an honest number as best as we can to the residents of Farmington, and trying to move with that number, saying we're going to take some of the proposed reductions, not 100%, and hopefully it will shake out in the end that what we're presenting to the town is pretty close to what will be our reality. And I think that's an important thing that we've done here that people need to realize. I mean, we might disagree on the particulars, but I think that moving forward in an honest representation of what we really think we're going to end up with is something that we've done well for the citizens of Farmington.
Yes, and we've been moving forward, I believe, all of us, in good faith, and doing what we think we can, all 7 of us, and I'm really proud of that. John?
So I don't want to belabor this, but I really want to say how much I appreciated Kathy Egan and Kathy Greeter and the Board of Education for following our request to give us a no new services budget. We basically asked to provide a budget within our target that would cover all of our existing services. Both sides came in with budgets that did that and within our target, and that says to me that we can't have level services. And when we put that in conjunction with the reductions that we expect from the state, it brought our tax rate, increased our tax rate by 4.1. Now, while 4.1 is greater than the average increase, it's not wholly out of line. In the last 20 years, we've had 6 years that we've had increases of 4 points or more. So 4.1 was not an extraordinary amount for us. The other thing about 4.1 is that when we added to our current rate, it still left us as the lowest tax rate in Farmington Valley. That's a significant thing. That says we can address the grant cuts from the state. We can maintain all of our current services and not be highly changing with our tax rate. Now, the other thing people should understand, when we arbitrarily make a reduction from 4.1 to 3.5, we are moving our tax rate down so that the average homeowner, instead of paying $20 extra in taxes a month, they pay $17 extra a month. So we're making, to the average taxpayer, we're making a $3 a month payment for an arbitrary cut. And just logically speaking, when Kathy comes in with a dollar amount to cover current services, and we ask her to go cut that, that means we're cutting below current services. That's not what we requested, and that's not what we needed. So I just thought that it was an arbitrary overreaction to highlight what's happening at the state level, and I thought that we could have easily moved ahead with a 4.1 budget and maintained some of the services. And I think it's going to be really critical, especially when you look at some of the capital expenditures that are going to be cut out of the school budget. Thank you.
I just have to say, my decision is not arbitrary at all. And I don't want to go through everything we did at budget, but there were reasons why I felt it was important. And one of the things that was brought up again at the Board of Ed meeting was that we made, the decisions we made for targets were made prior to the cuts from the state. So in my opinion, it was another attempt to, it was things that were done after we had already set our target to readjust, in my opinion. So that's part of my deliberation. And I don't feel that going from the 4.1 to 3.5 was arbitrary at all. I had my reasons and I stated them then, so.
I'm just
Anything
going to
else?
follow up, and I'm not going to beat this to death either, but I felt, in my opinion, and what we did here was not to throw all the funding that we were losing, that 1.7 million, on the backs of the taxpayer. I thought we took a responsible number to cut from the Board of Ed and the town side to minimize the impact on the taxpayer. That's how I look at this. I didn't think it would be fair to hit the taxpayer with a full blow from the state of Connecticut. So that's where I stand on that. I think we made a very responsible decision by not throwing this total cut on the taxpayers' backs. That's how I feel about that.
Thank you. John?
Yeah, and I'll just follow up too. I certainly do not believe that this was an arbitrary overreaction by any means. I believe this was a calculated, responsible action, and it's the reason why the town of Farmington is in the wonderful shape for lack of a better term, that it is. It's why we have a AAA rating. It's why we have wonderful public schools, and we can win first place at Harvard in an economics contest. So, no, everything we do up here is calculated and responsible. It's certainly not arbitrary, and by no means is it an overreaction, with all due respect.
Anything else? Okay, all those in favor of the N1, the budget, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed?
Poll the council.
Opposed?
Opposed?
Aye.
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 Okay. N2.
I move to approve the attached warning for the May 1st, 2017 second town meeting and the May 11th, 2017 referendum.
Second.
This is a second warning, and it will be for the second town meeting and referendum. If the first budget referendum fails, it won't be needed if the budget passes on April 27th.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Excuse me. Meredith, N3.
I move to schedule a special town council meeting if needed on Friday, April 28th, 2017, in the Town Hall Council Chambers at 4:00 p.m. to approve the Town Council's 2017-2018 second recommended budget.
Second.
Any questions? Or all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? N4.
I move to authorize the town manager to execute an open space and watershed land acquisition grant agreement and a conservation and public recreation easement and agreement for a grant in the amount of $578,500 for the purchase of 8885 South Ridge Road, Farmington, OSWA 516, and to manage said land as open space land pursuant to Section 7-131D of the Connecticut General Statutes.
Second.
This is the last step in our paperwork, and we have good news that we are receiving $578,500 for our grant for our South Ridge piece of property. So,
Just want to shout out for Liz Dolphin, who did a phenomenal job getting this all through.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? N5.
I move to approve the attached Americans with Disabilities Act policy and grievance procedure.
Second.
this is the next 5 agenda items. April is our month that we update our policies and procedures. And so these are all, I think there are no changes to them. It's just updating them, correct?
Yep, the only very tiny change is in some of the policies, there's discussion about discrimination, and we had to add gender identity.
Oh, okay. Good.
Keep it current.
Yep. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, N6.
I move to adopt the following fair housing resolution for the town of Farmington and to authorize the town manager to sign and distribute said resolution.
Second.
Same group, yep.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? N7.
I move to adopt the attached affirmative action plan for the town of Farmington.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? N8.
I move to adopt the following compliance with Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 statement for the town of Farmington and to authorize the town manager to sign and distribute said resolution.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? N9.
I move to adopt the following fair housing policy statement for the town of Farmington and to authorize the town manager to sign and distribute said resolution.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? N10.
I move to authorize the town manager to execute the contract for turnkey LED streetlight project with Tanco Street Lighting, Inc. for the purpose of proceeding with Task 1, audit and design for $32,000.
Second.
This, if you remember, we had a presentation about us purchasing our streetlights. And what this is that this is the first step, and this is the audit, where they go and do the audit and find out where our streetlights are, and they go through a whole process for us. It's $32,000. If we go forward and purchase our streetlights, which is our intent. This $32,000 is going to be rolled into the savings. If for some reason after we do the $32,000, we decide we do not want to purchase our streetlights, we do owe the $32,000.
Any questions? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. N11.
I move to approve the property tax refunds as shown on agenda item N11.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Oh, yeah, this.
We have executive session?
Okay.
See what time it is. All right.
8:39.
Thanks. All right, I move to adjourn to executive session to discuss matters concerning the sale or acquisition of real property, and that attendance in the executive session shall be limited to members of the town council, the town manager, and land acquisition committee member Bill Wadsworth at 8:40 PM.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?